This is your introduction to password hashing in Python. In today's video, I'm going to break down what is password hashing and how do we actually write software to hash these passwords, generate salt, all of that stuff. And to do this, we're going to be using the Bcrypt library from Python. If you're ready to start making some secure passwords, let's get right into it. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back, guys, for another episode of Code with Josh. For some obvious reasons now, I'm Josh, and I am stoked to have you guys here. Before we jump right into this video, help me out, help out the channel. Hit the like button and subscribe. That helps out my channel immensely, so if you get value from this types of videos, my work, hit the like, subscribe. Thank you guys so much. Now, today's video is a lot of fun because we've built out web applications, mobile apps. I've built a lot of apps out on this channel. But the way I've stored passwords in those videos, those aren't really secure. I'm just breaking it down, showcasing you guys how to build these out. But when we're taking an app to production, we need to encrypt these passwords. You never store text as a password. We use password hashing to handle this. This video is going to create a mini Python script that breaks down how we create hashes, how we check hashes, and really how we create this whole authentication system using Bcrypt. You're going to learn when and why we use Bcrypt and really the benefits it brings to the table. So if you're ready to start password hashing and just understanding this advanced topic, this is the video. Before we jump right into it though, okay, the first link in the description, that is my free Python course. It is a mini segment of my Python masterclass that's meant to help guide you and get you started in Python. The other links in the description, they're dedicated to helping you grow and get where you want to be in your Python careers. Down there is our Discord community. Come on, join Discord, as well as my Python newsletter, all my ebooks, and of course, the masterclass. Wherever you are, there's something down there to help you grow and get started. Check out the links, drop a comment. Enough said. Let's get into hashing out some passwords into the video. All right, guys, welcome back. Today's video is dedicated to password hashing. The goal of this is for me to show you how this works, so hopefully you could incorporate it into some of your scripts, your programs, your web apps, whatever you're building. All right, so talking about password hashing, and we're going to use the library Bcrypt to handle this. All right, so first things first, okay, if you want to fire up your terminal, that's fine, you probably should. We're gonna run here pip3 install bcrypt and just run that. Okay, I already have it on my system, so it shouldn't really do too much here. If you guys don't have it, you guys are going to need to install this, right? So there it is, we have it. I'm gonna clear out my terminal. Okay, first thing, we can go up here and we're going to import bcrypt. Okay, now this is great because this library is specifically designed for password hashing and it automatically includes salt, right? So what salt does is it essentially makes each password unique. While two users could have the same password, each of those is going to be stored with unique characters that won't ever match, right? And this is really adaptable, and this is going to help us not only create secure passwords, but this is going to help us keep up with any kind of faster hardware that comes out. So Bcrypt is really good for this. Additionally, for my case here, just how I'm storing things, really we would probably have a database. I'm not building a database for this. I'm going to import tuple from typing, and then I'm going to import date time. Okay, just so we have this all, not date. What am I doing here? Date time. Okay, great. Now, once again, so I have this Bcrypt module. We have it imported, all right? When do we want to use this? Basically, anytime you're storing users' passwords. Right? Yes, you could be building on a Flask application, just collect the password. But if you were to deploy this in production, no company is going to have that, right? You need a secure way, all right? So anywhere you need to securely hash passwords, a future-proof system, this is going to be pretty good for that. Now, I'm going to start off by making, let's call these our handler functions. We need two of these. The first function is going to be designed to actually hash the password. Okay, so I'm going to create a function to handle that. This is going to take some type of password, which ultimately is going to be a string. Okay, let's close that. We don't want that. And then we're going to take a number of rounds. So this is how many rounds is it going to go through encryption? Pretty standard is going to be 12. It does take the computer longer to run the more rounds you do. But if you wanted to make a more really secure password, I could up that to 16, for example. And this function is going to produce something we call bytes. Now, I'll print this off for you. I'll show you what it does here once we get everything set up. But really, I'm going to create a password. And it's going to take the password and it's going to run through rounds. So I'm going to say here, bcrypt. We want to hash the password. What does this accept? Well, this is going to take the password parameter we gave it, and we're going to give it something called encode. Encode is a function here. Now, while it's encoding that password, we also want to generate salt for that. And I've explained what salt does, but this is going to take the number of rounds, right? So really, I'll print it off, but this function is going to return the password for us. Okay, so this is us hashing out the password. If I wanted to very quickly run this just to show you guys, let's give in a top secret password, 321, whatever. Okay, rounds, we'll just call it 12. Let's run that just so you can see what we're actually working with in the output here. And you can see here it is. This is after we hash it out, after we generate the salt. This is the password, right? Instead of saying top secret password, it's going to produce this. This is that level of encryption we're going for. All right. Okay. So we have this password built. Now this is just designed for that. Now, when a user logs in, right, we also need the ability to check the password. So it's going to take a password the user is trying to log in with, as well as the hash, which I just showed you. And this is going to be the bytes. And this is just going to output a Boolean for us. So do these two match? True. Do these two not match? False. That's all that's happening here. So it's just returning a Boolean. We are just going to say bcrypt. We want to check the password. Okay, we are going to give this the password to encode. There we go. And we are just going to give it our hash. Okay, so that's all that's happening here. I'm giving it my hash, and it's going to return true or false based on what we need it to. These two are the most important in the beginning because really this is what's doing the hash for us. Okay, so we need this, right? But this isn't really a system of any type. So if we wanted to create like a dummy system here, we would want to, I'm going to create a class for this. But how can we handle this? How could I register a user, log in the user? How could we create different things like the number of attempts? How could I lock an account out if they've tried too many times? Just little details like that. So I'm going to create a class called user auth. Okay, and I will set up our constructor here. All this is going to take is self. Okay, now in real production, I would not make a dictionary for storing my database stuff. Okay, it's just not going to work. Okay, for the purpose of this video, I'm going to create a dictionary. Really, you would supplement this with some type of database. Okay, so I'm going to create the number of users. Let's create some kind of variable to like track the number of attempts, and this can also be set as a dictionary. We can put the max attempts, and I will actually demo this. Let's just set the max attempts at 3, and then let's create some kind of timer. So like, if we want to lock the user out based on a certain number of minutes, like they're logged into their account or something like that. Now this is just a class-based project, but I want you to think about how this might work or look like in your applications. So let's just create a variable called lockout minutes. Okay, so really this is done. I've set up the user authentication, and the first method we're going to make here is just to add the user. Right? Before I log them in, I have to add the user. This is going to take a username, and this is going to take a password. Okay, and really this is going to output a Boolean because it's just going to say yes, they're logged in, or no, they're not logged in But if they're not logged in or they're not a user, I will add them to our dictionary here of users. Okay, so if the username is already in my dictionary, users, then I'm just going to return false. I'm not going to add them, right? They're already there. Otherwise, we want to create them in the dictionary because they are a new user. So let's take our users, and the key is just our username. Okay. Now the value is going to be another dictionary. This is going to store a few things. This is going to store our password hash, which is the user's password. Here is where I can call hash password, and I'm going to give it the password that we give this method when it comes time to use it. You might want to create something like when was it created, right? This is why we imported date time. I can just say date time now. And then finally, this is really all you need. Let's just say like password rounds. And this is just going to store the number of password rounds it runs. You can change this over time, make them more secure. And in fact, I'll cover that in a method at a later point here. If that part of code ran, we're just going to import true or return true, excuse me. So pause the video if you need to, right? This is really all that's happening. I set up the class and I'm creating a function that takes a username and password, and it's going to return true or generate a new user and actually hash out their password. Okay. Now I am going to make a method for login, but for now I'm just going to pass over that because this login, I want it to be able to do different things. I want it to I want it to be able to automatically update the password hash. As more users create accounts, I want the password hashes to become more secure. That's a good way to handle that. I want to check if a user is locked out of their account, maybe. Like they could have too many failed login attempts. Or I also want to track how many times have they logged in. So before I just build out login, there's different pieces of the puzzle that I want to do. Do you have to do this? No, not necessarily, right? But the first one we do want to do. I want to check if the user's account is locked due to trying to log in too many times. Now, all of these are standard methods that we can access outside of the class. Python doesn't necessarily have strict guidelines for locking methods in a class, right? Typically, if you see an underscore before a method, this just means that this is not meant to be used out of the class. It doesn't enforce strict guidelines like other languages have. If you wanted to make even more strict, you could do a double underscore before the method. Okay, and this is it's not fully gonna lock it, but it's gonna put higher preventions on that. I'm just gonna do a single underscore, and this just means when I'm reading this as a developer, don't use this outside the class. No one else really has access to this. Okay, so is locked is gonna take a username, which is just a string, and once again, this is just gonna return a Boolean. Are they locked out of their account? Are they not? If the username is not in, we're going to have to do something here with the number of login attempts. So if they haven't tried to log in, because login attempts is a dictionary, I'm going to return false. It means they're not locked out of their account. Otherwise, they are locked out of their account. In this dictionary of login attempts here, this is just going to store things like the number of attempts in the last attempt. That's really all that's happening here. So I'm just going to say this is going to be like attempt, and it's also going to have the last attempt at login. So what we can do here is I can say attempts, last attempt, right? It's going to return two things. I'm going to say self.login attempts. We are going to access this with our username. This will become a piece of our user. Yeah, okay, this will become a piece of our user. So it's going to return that to us. Now, I want to check if the timer has maxed out. So if attempts is greater or equal to, I should say, self.max attempts, then we're going to check for the minutes that have passed. All right, so, you could just make up here a number, but I'm just going to do date time now. So it's going to get the current date time now, and I'm going to minus the last attempt from that. And we can say here, total seconds divided by 60. So that should ultimately tell me how many minutes have passed. If the minutes passed, great, is less than the lockout minutes, okay, I'm going to return true. And if that is also the case, we can reset it. So I can say delete. Let's go login attempts, and let's delete the user from that. Pretty good. Here I can return false. Yeah. Okay. So this is just checking, is the user account locked? That's all that's happening here, right? If they're locked, you might also want to track attempts, I suppose. And inside here, right, this could ultimately track the number of attempts a user has tried. So who is the user that we're tracking for? And this isn't actually going to return anything here, right? Is locked is just checking, is the account locked? That's all. Tracking attempts is now tracking the number of times they've tried and it's failed. So I'm going to create a variable called now, and this will be just our date time. If username is in our login attempts, okay, so if the user is in that dictionary, we're going to say attempts, and I don't want access to the second thing. So I really just want the number of attempts. That's what the underscore is signifying, right? If I wanted to have access to both, I could put what it's giving me back here, but I know I only want attempts. And so we're going to access our dictionary username, and we're just going to say self.login attempts username. What do we want to do here? This is going to be equal to the attempts plus 1, and we're going to give it the current time. Okay, so we're keeping track now of how many attempts has this run through. Good. All right. So finally here, we're just going to throw an else, I suppose. We're going to say self login attempts username is now equal to 1, and the time is now. Okay, really cool. Guys, if you have questions, right, I went through how to set up the hash, how to check the password hash. Now we're just building on a class for this, okay? Drop any questions you have. Let me know. I love helping you guys down there if you do have these questions. I'm not perfect, all right? I struggle a lot still. I know you guys do. I'm just hoping the way that I explain this breaks it down so you don't have the same struggles and we can kind of learn together, right? Drop questions, hit that like button, subscribe. That really does help out my channel, guys. So thank you. Thank you. The last thing here we're going to do before we build out the login, let's call this like upgrade hash, right? So really, every time a user creates an account, it creates a password hash. And over time, we're going to start to have more users. To automatically increase the security of the passwords, I just want it to automatically update the salt in the security of the password over time without me having to handle it. So I'm going to handle it here in this function. Now, this is just going to take a username and a password. Great. This isn't really going to return anything. This is just going to take a user, and we're going to say self.users accessing the username. So we're taking a single user from our dictionary, and this time, let's just say like minimum rounds. We set the standard rounds to originally 12. I could just update this to 14 now. So over time, when this is called, it's just updating it to more secure. So if user, that should be what, my dictionary, yeah. If user, this is a sub-dictionary, let's get our password hash is less than 14, minimum rounds, we're going to say user password hash is now equal to hash password. We're going to give it the same password that the user has. We're just rehashing it now, updating the number of rounds. That's all that's happening. And we're going to say user password hash is now equal to the minimum number of rounds. Pretty cool. So ultimately, all you'd have to do then is really update this number here every time or anytime you want to just increase the security of your system. All right, pretty sweet. This just brings us to the last point, right? Really all we needed here was add user and login. These other checks, I was trying to show you how we create hidden methods. This isn't completely hidden, but it's not meant to be used on the outside. And then just different checks you could do along the way, right? Now this login, there's nothing to really log into, but we want to check if the user is locked out of their account. I want to see if the user exists. And then we also want to see if the password is correct or if it needs to be upgraded. So every time someone logs in, it's going to run all these checks before returning true or false. True is the user logged in, or false, they can't log in. So let's just expand on login here and kind of wrap this up. Let's say if self is locked. So I'm going to call is locked. We're going to give it the username. If that's true, in that case, we don't actually have username. Username is going to be a string. Password is going to be a string. And this is just going to output a tuple. The first part of this tuple is going to be a Boolean. The second part will just be a string. Okay, so great. If they are locked out, I'm going to return false. They can't log in. They can't log into their account because this returned true. And we're just going to say here, too many attempts, account locked. Okay, that would be the first check. That's how I want to handle it. Now we would just want to do some kind of basic authentication, right? So if username is not in my dictionary, self.users, okay, I'm here just going to return false. And we're just going to say invalid user info. Sure. Right, so this just checks. You're trying to log into an account that doesn't actually exist. Okay. Next up, we now want to confirm the passwords. We have a hash password. We made a function up here to check the password. These two should match. If they don't match, we have an issue that needs to be handled, right? So this is meant to do just that. We are just going to take our user's dictionary, give it the username, okay? If not check password. What does this take? This takes our password and it takes the user, what do we call it? My dictionary, password hash. This is the password. So, and our password hash. Okay, so if this is not true, it means they're not a thing. It ultimately means they failed to log into their account. So what we could do is I could take the method we made to track the attempts, and inside here we're just going to give one to basically the user, and we can return false. And as the string, we are just going to say again, invalid user info. So I'm going to just drop that in here. Next up, we can, if there is a success, then they were able to log into their account, and I'm just going to clear their login attempts. That's all that's happening here. So I'm going to delete self.login attempts. We can delete the user who was trying to log in and reset that, right? And so they're now able to log into it. Every time this runs, you can just automatically check, do they need to update the hash? Right, so I'm just going to call upgrade hash. We can give it the username, and we are just going to give it the password. Done. This function is done running. We are going to return true, and you can do something like success. We're done. That's it. The final stage is really just testing this, right? So if I go down, your classes are done. Let me just clean this up for you guys. I'm going to close down my functions so maybe we can see everything in one go here. Okay, so we have these three checks, add users, init, login. Okay, great. This is everything we just built out here. Now, okay, I need some space here. Close that down. Okay, finally, if name is equal to main, we can create an object here. So we'll call this user auth. This is going to initialize our class. Let's just make up, I'll make these as variables, I guess. Make up code with Josh. Cool. Password is going to be subscribe to the channel. If you haven't already, help me out. Hit the like button, subscribe. Come on, guys. If user dot add user, we are going to give it the user, and we are going to give it the password. Done. This should not be user. This is auth. Okay, so if that's the case, I'm essentially just creating an account. I could then just print off like account created. Done. Right, that would be our first check. Now maybe we can test the login. So our login is going to return two things. It's going to return success, true or false, and it's going to return some type of message. So if we now try to access login, and we're going to give it user, we're going to give it our password, that is going to return some good stuff to us. I'm going to return here, let's just say good login, and we are just going to return here, oops, I don't want a comma, we can return the message. Okay, that's good. And then finally, in order to test if it has failed through the login, let's just make a dummy. Let's say for I in range. Let's just have this run a few times, and let's just say success. Let's say message. We're going to try to log the user in again. Let's give them the same user, so code with Josh, but this password, let's say like the video, right? So this is the original password. This doesn't match these two passwords, right? So all we're going to do now is I'm going to print off, and we're just going to say bad login. We can do increase the counter. Where's my I plus 1, and then we can give it our message. All done and done. Let's run this. Let's examine what's happening here. Make sure it works. And this was Bcrypt. Okay, so you can see here that I'm actually thrown an error. So where is this? Line 75 is really what it comes from. 74 upgrade hash. Coming from this line, and that looks to be because, yeah, okay, so I type password hash. This is my password, so that's not even a number. That should be password rounds, I think. And once again, this is my password, so I shouldn't have done that. That's kind of silly. Where did I make that? Rounds, okay, so yeah, I fixed that. Let's run it again, double check our work, make sure we're hashing everything we want to. Boom, boom, there we go. It's going through my checks, and you can see now, one, we created our hash password, okay? It was a good login the first time we tried it, which down here, where did I put it? Right here, account created, good login, this is good. And then we run through this dummy scenario where I'm just changing the password. It goes through its checks. Too many attempts, account is locked. This was an introduction to password hashing. I chose Bcrypt because of how versatile it is, right? It's designed for stuff like this. It's designed to automatically include salt and to adapt over time. All right. Now, guys, never store plain text passwords. That's the purpose of this. That's not secure at all. Don't store plain text passwords. All right. Always try and hash them before storing them, especially in production, right? And then try and use some constant verification if you can. That was really the bonus methods that I built out here. And there you guys have it. I hope today's mini introduction to password hashing gave you a lot of value. And you can see why we don't want to store passwords as text. That's not secure. Anyone can hack that. That's not great. We want to hash these passwords out and make them ultra secure. And Bcrypt can help you handle that. That is a huge thing that Python is good for. Authentication, security. And this video showed you just how we get started with that. If you got value in today's video, hit that like button and subscribe. That means the world. Really does help me out in the channel. So just thank you guys for being here. Okay, the links in the description are meant to help you grow in Python, wherever you are, from beginner to pro, okay? I have content down there dedicated to helping you grow your skill set and get better. From my free Python course, our Discord community, the newsletter, the ebooks, everything. Check them out. That really does support me even more. So just thank you guys. And that's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed password hashing. Drop a comment, let me know. Until next week's video, Python crew, I will see you then.